core of democracy is not dissent. The core of democracy is this, that the people's choice should become the expression of the government. When we say people's choice, obviously you go by the voting system. If you think you can dissent against the fundamental voting system, then you're dissenting against democracy, not within democratic framework. All your dissent should be within the framework of the constitution. Or because constitution is not a religious Bible. Constitution is open to amendments. It is not a God-given thing that you cannot amend it. You can amend the constitution. But once we say we are one nation, all of us have come to an agreement that we will function within these rules. We can dissent, but we can't dissent against the fundamentals, because then we will go back to tribal war. When we cannot agree on anything, then we will kill. Please, let's understand this. You may think you're very peaceful today, but if everybody around you doesn't agree to anything that you want, violence will erupt. So, we have to agree to some things, and for continuous change, a dynamic change to be there in the society, we can dissent. But you start dissenting against the fundamentals of our existence as a nation, as a people, then there will not be democracy, there will be complete mobocracy. See, these are all dramatic statements, all right. I don't like any man who wants to go to the gallows, because a man who wants to go to the gallows will also send others to gallows because he thinks it's a high place to go. I don't believe going to the gallows is a great place for me, nor do I want to send you to the gallows. I don't like a man who wants to go to the gallows, because that man will also send others to gallows. I want a world where there are no gallows. See, when it comes to books, anybody can write anything. People can choose whether to read it or throw it. Freedom must be given. So, one thing is, you can write a book, I can write a book on whatever I want, whatever you want. This is constitutionally enshrined for us. But I try to make a movement around my book, then it can become a problem if it's not acceptable to others. So this is something writers should realize. A writer should just write. People can choose whether to read, not to read, what to do with it. But now you try to start a political movement. I'm not talking about this writer, I don't know what you're talking. But generally a few writers have tried to use the book as a way to start a movement. Then the opposing movements will say, okay, through the book you're trying to come into the political picture, and they try to ban the book. So this is very important. Literature and politics must stay away. When I say I must stay away, you must not take a biased opinion and try to make a movement out of it. You can write whatever you want, this must be allowed in the country. In the world, everybody can write what they want. And people also are free to read it or not read it. But don't try to make it into a popular movement on the street, then you will get beaten because there are other popular movements. In terms of expression, there should be no limit. But at the same time, in your family, can you feel like saying whatever you want to the family members? You think you'll have a family left? You cannot. Do you measure your words or no sometimes when you want to say something? Any sensible man will do this. Even with your own family, you do this. So the same responsibility you must have to the larger community also. This does not mean you cannot say, you must say it the right way. You can say what you want to say, but is it not important to say it the right way? Right now people are saying things on social media, using all kinds of obscene language about everybody. If you think it is your freedom, see, when you think it is my freedom, it's your freedom to oppose me. It is your freedom to comment on me. But it's not your freedom to abuse me. Abuse is violence. If you start abusing me, if I don't have the vocabulary, then my hand will come up. This is what will happen. So it's very important, whoever you are a writer, you are a citizen, you are a family man, before you say something to somebody, how you must deliver what you have to say. As a writer, you must have the skill to make the other person understand why you're saying what you're saying, not just for the fancy of disturbing people. You must be able to, if you're a good writer, you must know how to deliver what you want to do. Most revolutionary ideas have been delivered in such a way that people loved it, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So that is the talent that you have to see. In a crude way, if you tell me something, obviously I'm not going to take it from you. 100%, not 100, there must be… For every human being should have his own thought process, okay? If we are 1 billion people, we must have 1 billion schools of thought. There's no question about that. Every human being should think for themselves, only then there is a progressive society. But many religious groups will not allow that because it's already been said. Everything that has to be said is already said and it's in one book. If you say anything more, you will die. So others are also picking up this kind of thing, rhetoric, because they think by violence, by threats, you can control. But this control will happen for a while, after some time you will lose your credibility by doing these things. Because human societies are coming to a place where human intellect is firing like never before. In this condition, if you try to impose things, you will lose out. You will completely lose out. So whether it's religious groups, social groups, cultural groups, whatever they call themselves, nobody has any business to muzzle somebody else's thought, okay? At the same time, whatever my thought, how I say it to you, I must develop the skill of saying it in such a way that you will understand what I'm thinking. If it is blatantly against you, how will you accept my thought? You will not. So it's important for a writer to develop enough skill before he writes, that he writes it in such a way that everybody will understand. Some may appreciate, some may not appreciate, but everybody must understand why you're saying what you're saying. In a crude way, if you say something, even within your own family structure, it'll not work. Society is not right in curtailing the freedom of the writer. Writer is wrong in expressing it in crude ways. He must express it with enough talent, with enough substance, so that anybody who reads at least understands the comprehensive nature of the thought. They don't feel its insults are being thrown at them. It's very important. This is important for human communication, whether you're a writer or whatever you are. I am saying something as simple as if you go to the vegetable market, that lady who is selling 5 kilograms of tomato there or fish, you have to express yourself properly to her. If you don't express yourself properly, she will take the fish and slap it in the face. So I'm saying whether you're a writer or otherwise, living among people, you have to express yourself in a way everybody understands. However revolutionary it is, people will understand if you express it properly. Instead of thinking you don't understand, I must understand I'm not saying it the right way. Desire is not the problem. The problem is the way you're addressing it. The desire is for everything, but you are going at it in a constipated way. Constipation is the problem. Desire is not the problem. I feel people don't have enough desire. I feel everybody should expand their desire limitlessly. Then you'll see a settled society. Right now it's constipated, for little things they're quarreling. If your desire is for everything, you will understand physically conquering it is not going to work. Then you turn spiritual. This is what spiritual means. Spiritual does not mean looking heavenward. Spiritual does not mean God. Spiritual does not mean looking up or down or anywhere. Spiritual means your experience of life has crossed the limitations of being physical. In spirituality, there is no God, there is no devil. This comes from belief system. You made up things of gods and devils and all kinds of things. This is a simplistic thing. See, there are too many assumptions here, too many belief systems here, too much ideology here. There is no reality. Instead of simply admitting you do not know the nature of life, you're making up things with all this stuff. This is a simplistic idea. Human beings believing there is a big man up there who does everything is too rudimentary. If you were a buffalo, you would think a big buffalo is sitting up there, okay? Spiritual process doesn't come from this. Spiritual process comes from observation and watching everything the way it is, then you realize you don't know a thing about anything. If you realize this, the longing to know will transform itself into seeking. If you seek, the only place you seek is within yourself because you cannot access anything else. If you seek within yourself, the very source of life is within you. What is the source of life and creation is what you are labeling it as God and a counter as devil. There is no such thing, it's all a concoction of your mind. Your mind creates gods and devils. If you were an ant, you would think a god is a big ant. If you were a buffalo, you would think God is a big buffalo. Because you're human, you think God is a big human being, all right? Now in America, there's a big debate whether God is man or woman. You better settle that. Why are you fighting with you? Are you fighting with the flesh or spirit? See, there are too many assumptions here, too many belief systems here, too much ideology here. There is no reality. Instead of simply admitting you do not know the nature of life, you're making up things with all this stuff. This is a simplistic idea. Human beings believing there is a big man up there who does everything is too rudimentary. If you were a buffalo, you would think a big buffalo is sitting up there, okay? Spiritual process doesn't come from this. Spiritual process comes from observation and watching everything the way it is, then you realize you don't know a thing about anything. If you realize this, the longing to know will transform itself into seeking. If you seek, the only place you seek is within yourself because you cannot access anything else. If you seek within yourself, the very source of life is within you. What is the source of life and creation is what you are labeling it as God and a counter as devil. There is no such thing, it's all a concoction of your mind. Your mind creates gods and devils. If you were an ant, you would think a god is a big ant. If you were a buffalo, you would think God is a big buffalo. Because you're human, you think God is a big human being, all right? Now in America, there's a big debate whether God is man or woman. You better settle that. See, all these prophets, everything come from places where they believed somebody will land from elsewhere and save their life. That never happened, all right? Life is happening here. For life to happen, the source of life also is playing within you. If you touch it consciously, life becomes magical. Otherwise, you end up in this logic which will drive you to distraction. All these gods and devils, goods and evils, heaven and hells is a product of your logic. Not because you explored any of these things, you've come to this. It's a product of your logic because in your logic, if there is good, there must be bad. But life is not like that. Pay a little more attention to life. When I say life, not your work, not your family, not your car, not your home, that's not life, these are all accessories. This is life. The very nature of your life, if you pay attention to it, then you will know the nature of life. If you know the nature of life, you will know the nature of the source of life. If you know this, life becomes magical. You will not be trapped in your logic. Thank you.